What's good? It's Fevir. I was a little bit curious about Wildstar recently, so I decided to boot it up and see what had changed since I left. And I left about 9 months ago, right before the release of the Mega servers, which basically put all the players together. Yet here I am in the Dominion main city, and I've seen about 2 people in like the last hour, and I've seen nobody say anything in chat. And I'll even type something here so that you know that the chat is indeed viewable. But it's not news that Wildstar isn't doing so hot, but I would like to share with you what exactly has changed in the last close to a year, because, and I don't say this lightly, Wildstar right now I feel is ready to be released, and that's a little bit of a shot. Unfortunately, first impressions have probably crippled this game permanently, but it is in a decent space finally, if you take all of the population issues aside. There hasn't been quite the promised one content update a month, and really most of the updates have been feature tweaks or fixes, although, and I might be missing something content-wise, we did get one brand new instanced PvP battleground. We got 2 dungeons, a level 10 Protostar themed dungeon and a level 50 Protostar themed dungeon, and they've also continued the storyline lore quests following Drusera, I think it was, and since then they've actually added an entire new zone, the Defile, which has the linear questing as well as the static daily quest hub. Also, they've added a veteran difficulty to the ship hand type missions. The changes to the fundamentals of the game are the real story here, and I'm a bit bittersweet about these. A lot of the features Wildstar was selling when they were in hype mode, the tone of the game, the difficulty, the soul of the game, has really been altered in a way to be much more generic, more like WoW, much easier. In fact, the list of changes I'm about to give you are almost entirely things that WoW has or have tweaked themselves in the past, and it's funny especially after me making that MMO suck video. So let's get into some of the changes. Performance seems stable now. I've tried it on a couple different systems. It seems good. Game-wise, there was a base 15% increase in experience gains to help leveling up. Base health and health per point of grit has been increased, and this seems very understated, but this makes almost all of the content in the game easier because you're just not gonna die as much. They've introduced a barbershop to redo your character customizations. The attunement process changed by not needing gold medals in dungeons, and they've made it easier to get medals in dungeons. The dungeons themselves now drop purples pretty much like candy. Bosses have guaranteed purple drops in 2 of the 5-man dungeons, and this influx of dungeon purple gear actually devalues and breaks crafting. Crafting gear before was able to be slightly more powerful and optimal for pre-raiding. Now it really has no place at all. They've removed the random aspect to gear in regards to the number of slots and the slot types, and the number of slots are now uniform, and there are items that will allow you to reroll slot types. Currency systems have been revamped. The previous Elder points and Renown points are now mainly used for fluff or utility items like housing items, consumables, amp points, and a new resource, Glory, has been added to obtain gear, and you obtain Glory for doing dungeon objectives or raiding, and this can be traded in for blues and purples, and they've also added some incentives to running random dungeons, which includes Glory as well as a little bit of extra gold. They've introduced the equivalent of tier armor tokens that drop in raids. They've scrapped the idea of 40-man raiding, moving to a constant 20-man, and the 40-man Datascape raid has been redone for 20 players. The 40 vs 40 PvP war plot system has been changed to 30 vs 30, but still, this isn't really something that you can queue up for. It just doesn't pop aside from Friday and Saturday nights when guilds will plan it out and pit themselves against each other. In PvP, they've taken away the rating tiered PvP gear, so all gear is available despite your rating, and there's not quite leaderboards yet. Warriors are still head and shoulders above everyone else despite countless balance changes to all of the classes, and the most important change, Malgrave Trail, the caravan has been increased in speed by 10%. Now, there are some other small things that they've changed, but it's clear to see that they've gone with a much more generic and casual approach to the game, which again, bittersweet. If the game released now, it would have been fine, maybe even popular, because Wildstar is so much fun to actively play. The act of pushing the buttons feels awesome, it always has, it just came too late. And when Wildstar released at a time when ArcAge, Elder Scrolls Online, and Final Fantasy XIV were around or in hype mode, and with all of its issues, it just really didn't stand a chance. I think the only thing that could salvage this game is the free-to-play model with a hefty cosmetic shop. The aesthetic, the personality, the housing system in this game, they're all just so perfect for a cosmetic shop that it hurts. I could so see myself buying an Easter Bunny costume or a leprechaun suit and going to hunt down some strain with it. And I think that the move to casual, like the overarching changes to be a more casual game, it's good. And besides all of the bad reviews, the one thing that Wildstar does have going for it at the moment is that it was never that popular even at its height. So there are tons of people who haven't played the game, and if they can change that business model to that free-to-play and get people to just try the game for the first time, they could hook some of them. And you only need to catch a couple of whales. Anyway, those are the changes, some of my thoughts. This one flopping really hurt. Until next time, this is Fevir. Peace.
I do not have the words to describe how I feel. Everything we've done, all we've worked for, I can only hope that we can stop it before all is lost.
Forgive me, but I'd like to add something more to the video after having listened through it. Wildstar has done a great job addressing the bugs and the performance issues that plagued the game at launch, and I skirted over an absolute metric shit ton of quality of life changes, and I focused mainly on the broad strokes. Most of the reasons that people quit the game have been fixed, and the only glaring issues that I see currently is just that nobody plays, which to most, myself included, is too big of an issue to overlook, and then not knowing what will happen to the game in the future isn't very cool either. But because they are finally in a release state, we'll probably be seeing more content instead of tweaks in upcoming patches, and Elder Scrolls Online turned themselves around in a huge way, and Wildstar possibly could, but it needs to drop that sub model. And currently you have a 10-day free trial, I think everybody gets that, and so just give it another shot if you're kind of bored like I was. You might be pleasantly surprised.